Hey guys, welcome to codesickness. Myself Atul, and the topic today we'll be discussing is how to print prime numbers which are located at prime locations. So what it essentially means is we are going to be taking an array input, array list, anything. We're just going to be taking a collection of data, and then we are going to find which values are prime and are located at a prime location. That is, for example, let's see we have 24. 24 is not a prime number, so it will be ignored. But if we have 23, so this is a prime number, but if it is located at a location, let's say 4, so it will not be considered. But if it is at location 5, it will be considered, since 5 is a prime number. So let's just jump right into it. And for this whole thing, first we need to define a function which is prime, which will be checking if the given number is a prime number or not. So let me write is prime. So to write, let me just define it. Define is prime. Of course we have a parameter, and then first of all we need to define what 0 and 1 will be. So in this case we are taking 0 and 1 as non-prime numbers, so it will return false for them. So if n equals 0 or n equals 1, we will return false. And now for the else part, this will consist of the rest of the code. So we have a for loop in range. For loop has a variable I in range from 2 to n by 2 minus 1 plus 1, n by 2 plus 1, because we are considering this as, we are considering values from 2 till n by 2, because that will improve the efficiency, since the least number which can be divided after the whole value is the half of that value, so it will also increase the efficiency of this program. So let's just, oh yeah, and I used int here because we have to convert this float value to integer, because range takes only integer values. So if the value which we are checking ever is divided by a number which is other than itself, or the value which is half of it, then we will consider it as non-prime. So what we are going to do is n mod I double equals to 0. That means if the remainder of any of the number is 0, that is, it divides the number, then we can consider it as non-prime. So we will return false, and then we just have to skip out of the loop, and since if by default if the false doesn't come, then we will return true. So there's layers to get to true. So then we have to write the values, we have to take the values from the user. So for that, first we have to know how many values we have to insert. So for that I will use a variable, any variable, f, let's say f equals, first of all these values should be integer, so I will take int, and then to take any values we use the input function, which will take any values which is in the buffer memory basically. So now I'm writing a statement which will be presented to the user as a prompt. So it will be like how many values, question mark, So since how many values will be answered, it, it should look good, right? So we will add slash n here just for new line character there, and then we will define the list, which is lis. You can take anything, just list. This is an empty list for now. And then we will define the for loop, which is for I in range. The range is from 0 essentially, that is from the starting. So we are not giving the primary value, because if we only give one value here, it will take it as the upper limit. So the upper limit is f, which is the maximum number of values we want, right? Then we have to input these values. So we will take that, since we are considering only values between 2 and 99, so we will be taking it in a variable, which we will then further evaluate to see if it should be inserted into the list. R input, before that, int input will be empty. We don't need to do anything here. And for user's sake, we will print a statement here from when so that they know that they have to start entering the values here. So enter values here. Okay, and now we will take these values and then we'll check it if they are between 2 and 99. So if the value, that is r, is greater than 1 and r is less than 100, and what will we do? We will basically insert it. So lis dot insert. So we have to give two values here. First is the index and the second is the object. So the index will be I, because it is iterating on that, comma. The second will be the value, which is r. We have taken it from the buffer. So that's it for this one. And then we will have the else statement. So the else statement is basically, we will print a statement which says that it is an invalid input, and also we would like to continue so that other values can be inserted later on. The loop shouldn't collapse after this invalid input. It will continue, and only the value which was wrong will not be inserted. Okay, so this is all for the inserting part. Now we also have to evaluate if the value which we will be printing is a prime number and the index on which it resides on is a prime or not. So it's very simple. We will just use a for loop for I in range. For I in range, length of list. So lis, that's it. And then we will have an if statement to know if is prime. What is prime? The list value, right? So list of I. So list of I, if it is prime, then only we will proceed. So after that we will check if the index of this prime number is also prime. So if is prime I. So finally, if the index value as well is prime, then we will proceed further and we will print that value as print. Then we should have a delimiter in between both those values to separate them. So we will use a comma, and here on the left side we will print the value, which is list of I, and then we use a comma to separate these values, and finally we have I. So all of these values are here, and we just have to run the code now. Let me run it. So since I used /n, it is not working. I should use \n. So how many values? We'll just write 5. Then we have to enter values here. The first value will be, let's take all of them as prime numbers, so it will be easy. First will be 23, then we'll have 39, and then we'll have, let's say, 73, then we'll have like 17, then 19. That's all the values we have, and finally it has printed the output. The value on second, this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So for 5 values it will be 0 to 4. So of all these values, the value which is 73 is a prime number. All of these are actually prime number, but the index on which it is also a prime number. So 2 is a prime number, 17, which is this value, is also a prime number, and the index is also a prime number. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you liked it, share if you loved it, and see you again.